Malcolm Jamal Warner didn't just die, he left this world like a damn superhero. And in a jaw-dropping twist nobody saw coming, Jasmine Guy has finally shattered the silence with a truth bomb that'll punch you right in the chest. Turns out, Malcolm's last breath spent saving Jasmine's daughter from drowning. Yeah, read that again. So what really went down that day? Why did Jasmine sit on this gut-wrenching secret for so long? And how did one act of pure heroism set off a chain reaction that wrecked everyone around him? Don't blink, because this isn't some cookie-cutter celebrity tragedy. It's raw, it's chilling, and it's way more soul-crushing than you ever imagined. Sure, we all loved Malcolm Jamal Warner as smooth-talking Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, but off-screen he was something else entirely, a quiet warrior, a loyal protector, and the kind of man who would literally trade his life just so someone else could keep theirs. A man who'd literally lay down his life to protect the ones he loved. Yeah, that was Malcolm Jamal Warner. And now, in a twist that sounds ripped from the final scene of a tear-jerking drama, actress Jasmine Guy has dropped the emotional bombshell we didn't see coming. Malcolm's death. Not some random tragedy. Nope, it was a bold, good act of real-life heroism. According to Jasmine, he died trying to save her young daughter from drowning during what was supposed to be a low-key getaway from the chaos of fame. No flinching, no pause. He charged headfirst into danger and never made it back. In this video, we're breaking down every chilling second of that unforgettable day, from a peaceful family moment, flipping into an all-out horror show, to the emotional fallout that left Jasmine broken, silent, and shattered for months. Get ready, because what you're about to hear is raw, painful, and never before exposed. Malcolm's heart-wrenching final moments, Jasmine Guy's jaw-dropping confession, and the emotional shockwaves that left Hollywood gasping. This isn't just a death story. This is a brutal saga of bravery, heartbreak, silence, and a truth so loud it doesn't whisper, it howls. So don't even think about blinking, because what you're about to uncover won't just shift how you remember Malcolm Jamal Warner. It'll hit you so hard, you'll feel it in your soul. And buckle up, because what Jasmine revealed during that private memorial, absolutely unreal. But before we dive into the day everything unraveled, you need to understand just how deep the bond ran between Malcolm and Jasmine. To the public, they were icons from different corners of Black Hollywood. Malcolm, the down-to-earth genius from The Cosby Show. Jasmine, the fierce, no-nonsense powerhouse from a different world. The fierce, no-filter Whitley from a different world. But baby, behind the glammed-up press pics and fake smile red carpet moments, their connection ran way deeper than a few awkward hugs and staged selfies. This wasn't some shallow co-star thing. This was real deal, soul-bonded, chosen family. Not bound by blood, but by trust, trauma, and a love that didn't budge. Their ride-or-die friendship kicked off in the late 80s, right when The Cosby Show was owning prime time. Jasmine Guy, still fresh, but already stealing every scene on a different world, crossed paths with Malcolm Jamal Warner at a low-key industry mixer hosted by none other than Debbie Allen. And no, they didn't bond over flash and fame, they locked in over fire and purpose. Both guarded, both deep, and both sick of Hollywood's fake sparkle. They weren't chasing clout, they were building a quiet resistance, leaning on each other like survivors bracing for impact. Each other in ways only two ex-child stars, dodging the fame game and its silent scars, could ever really understand. Word behind the scenes. Jasmine Guy once called Malcolm her emotional anchor, the only one who saw her, not the polished Hollywood product. And Malcolm, he swore up and down to his crew that Jasmine wasn't just a friend. She was the truth. She was family. Full stop. So, when Jasmine had a daughter later in life, a baby, she guarded like a vault from the public chaos. Malcolm Jamal Warner didn't flinch. He stepped into Uncle Malcolm mode like he'd been born for it. Birthdays, locked in. Holidays, always. School plays, you already know, front and center. Jasmine trusted him more than anyone alive. And that little girl, absolutely obsessed. Their weekends, a vibe, quiet barbecues, chill cookouts, no cameras, just love. Those quiet getaways by hidden lakes, filled with peace, protection, and those deep, soul-level convos about life, love, and everything in between. Malcolm wasn't just Uncle Malcolm anymore. He was her second father, no debate. But it was on one of those serene weekends, at a tucked-away lake just outside Atlanta, when everything fell apart. So what really went down out there? And why did Jasmine Guy keep this heart-wrecking secret buried for so long? In the next chapter, we're yanking you right into that chilling weekend, into the exact moment when a peaceful escape turned into a real-life nightmare. This wasn't supposed to be chaos. No paparazzi, no flashing lights, no Hollywood nonsense. Just stillness, trees, water, and space to breathe. Malcolm Jamal Warner had joined Jasmine and her daughter for a quiet trip to a secluded lake estate, just 2 hours from Atlanta trip that was never supposed to end in heartbreak. Atlanta, little sanctuary that felt like their own private bubble. Safe, warm, almost suspiciously perfect. It was late spring, and the weather, straight out of a dream-like Mother Nature, wrapped them in your grandma's favorite quilt. The sun was showing off, birds were on tour, and that lake, glistening like it was auditioning for a Nicholas Sparks movie. Total bliss. And Jasmine. Insiders say she was soaking up every second, extra grateful that weekend. Her baby had just turned the big one to 0, and Malcolm had driven all the way out just to celebrate quietly, far from the fake flash of Hollywood. They grilled, played board games, and yes, Malcolm pulled out his legendary nighttime storybook routines he'd done for her daughter since she was barely walking. But then came that day. The one etched in their minds like a scar. It started off like the calmest Sunday ever. Breakfast on the patio. Laughter echoing through the trees, bouncing off the trees as they strolled lazily toward the lake's edge, where the dock jutted out just enough to make you feel like you were stepping into a dream. That morning, Jasmine's daughter begged to dip her toes in nothing out of the ordinary. The kid lived for water, and this lake always felt like their personal safe haven. Jasmine was close, crafting the perfect picnic vibe. Malcolm stood just feet away, coffee in hand, standing guard like the human force field he always was. But then bomb, in one gut punch of a blink it all unraveled. A misstep, a splash, then a scream so sharp it sliced through the calm. Jasmine spun around and saw her baby girl thrashing in panic, caught in a hidden underwater drop-off, her little body going under. The lake's gentle shoreline had been hiding a silent killer, a sudden plunge just steps away. Yeah, they'd been warned before, but like most dangers, it sat quietly in the background. Until it didn't. She froze, locked in fear. For one bone-chilling second, Jasmine couldn't scream, couldn't run, couldn't breathe. But Malcolm, he didn't flinch. Fully dressed, phone still in his pocket, he bolted like a man on fire and launched himself into that water. No hesitation, no theatrics, no hold my phone moment. Just raw, fearless instinct. Later, Jasmine would whisper, through tears, he didn't even take off his shoes, and she wasn't exaggerating. He just ran and flew. He reached her daughter in seconds, pulled her up, fought to keep her above the surface, and somehow amid pure chaos pushed her toward the shallow end, where Jasmine was already plunging in, waist deep and desperate. But just when they thought the worst was over, tragedy struck. Malcolm slammed his head. A hidden rock completely invisible beneath the waterline. One brutal hit and everything changed. Balance. Jasmine's daughter made it out alive. But Malcolm, he never resurfaced. Jasmine screamed his name, dove in without thinking, frantically searching every inch. But by the time paramedics got there, the clock had already bled out. They pulled his body from the lake nearly 20 minutes later, just feet from the dock, and just like that, he was gone. A hero's death, no doubt. But let's be clear, it tore everything apart. Jasmine crumpled on the shore, her screams slicing through the air like an alarm no one could silence. Even the MTS-hardened pros who'd seen nightmare after nightmare were visibly rocked. They didn't just recover a body, they'd just lost a legend. But for Jasmine, this wasn't about cameras or clickbait. This wasn't losing a celebrity. She lost her person, the man who gave his life for her child. But don't go anywhere, because what came next made the grief even heavier. Where it guts you all over again. Because Jasmine Guy didn't go live. She didn't post a selfie with a sad caption. She didn't drop a public statement dripping in hashtags. She vanished, ghosted the world, swallowed by grief so heavy it shut her down completely, silenced by trauma, paralyzed by heartbreak. For months, she dodged interviews, skipped every event, and ignored every media outlet clawing for answers. But the real question, why so quiet? In the days following Malcolm Jamal Warner's devastating death, the world was spinning, shocked, broken, drowning in questions with no answers. The headlines: trash, drowning incident, that's all we got. No backstory, no humanity, just cold facts. Friends posted vague goodbyes, castmates from The Cosby Show in a different world shared their sorrow, but Jasmine, not a whisper, not a photo, not a quote, just straight-up silence, and let's be real, that silence screamed louder than any headline ever could. Behind closed doors, Jasmine Guy was unraveling, and not in some cinematic, mascara-running up no Poconi breakdown, no. This was raw, messy, soul-shattering collapse. Months later, a close family friend finally spilled the real tea. Jasmine wasn't just mourning, she was suffocating in guilt, blaming herself, torturing herself with a reel of endless what-ifs. The friend said she replayed that day on a loop. If I'd just said no to swimming, if I'd stayed closer, if I'd seen that damn drop-off. She became convinced that maybe, just maybe, Malcolm would still be breathing. But this wasn't just guilt eating at her. It was shock, straight-up trauma. She had watched her best friend, her daughter's second dad, disappear before her eyes. No warning, no final word, just gone. And the aftermath. Devastating. Insiders say she couldn't sleep for weeks. Nightmares hit like a hammer. She'd bolt upright in bed, screaming his name in the dark, screaming Malcolm's name like the pain was hunting her. She stopped eating, cut off everyone, texts, calls, all of it. Even her 10-year-old daughter started spiraling. The poor kid developed full-blown panic attacks, couldn't be near water, freaked out at the sight of a bathtub. It got so bad, Jasmine had to sneak both of them into therapy under a fake name, just to keep paparazzi from exploiting their healing. Then came the vultures. Her PR team begged, speak up, control the story, own the narrative. Jasmine, she shut it down cold. Her response, this isn't some scripted drama. This is my real life. I lost my brother. She wasn't just grieving. She was guarding Malcolm's legacy with her whole chest. No tabloid was going to twist his final heroic act into headline fodder, and her daughter's trauma, off limits. Not one camera was going to feed off their pain. To dodge the media circus, Jasmine Guy went full ghost, straight up silent for nearly a year, and during that blackout, she noped out of everything. Fans expected her to be part of a different world. Tributes skipped, Black Excellence panels absent, red carpet reunions. Don't even ask. Naturally, the rumor mill kicked into overdrive. Some swore she was battling a secret illness. Others claimed she'd slipped into quiet retirement. But no, Jasmine wasn't hiding from Hollywood. She was mourning a man she loved like kin, a man who gave it all in one fearless, final moment. But piece by shattered piece, she started crawling her way back. Therapy cracked open the door. Her inner circle pulled her through, and hours of soul-searching that lit the match. No, she didn't magically move on, but she found just enough strength to really speak and give Malcolm the tribute he earned. And when that moment came, it wasn't Oprah, wasn't some red carpet mic drop. It happened on a quiet, under-the-radar podcast no one expected to blow up. For nearly a year, Jasmine Guy was a ghost. And then she detonated a truth bomb nobody saw coming. No flashbulbs, no exclusives, no Insta-sob posts, just a couple of cryptic black and white pics that basically screamed, don't even try me. And then, out of nowhere, came the moment, the crack in the armor. And nope, it didn't happen on Oprah or The View. It happened on a small, barely known podcast called Sister Circle's Soul Talks, hosted by an old friend from the industry. No handlers, no filters. This wasn't a PR comeback, it was real. The show had a tiny following, barely moving the needle online, but that 1-hour episode, it blew up. One of the most raw, emotionally gutting confessions ever dropped in Black Hollywood history. Midway through, the host, tiptoeing through emotional landmines, gently asked, Jasmine, we've all been holding space for you, but how are you really doing, since Malcolm, since the accident? And Jasmine, who'd been holding that soft, practiced smile, just froze, just stopped cold. Her eyes glossed over, her chest locked up, and then, after a silence so thick it felt like the earth held its breath, she whispered, he died saving my daughter. He died because of us. Boom. The host didn't make a sound. The air in the room shifted like something unseen had walked in, and in that moment, Jasmine Guy finally released the truth she'd buried for almost a year. Every painful second, the cozy weekend, the giggles, the splash, the scream. She painted the moment with horrifying clarity. Malcolm's last sleepy smile that morning, how he joked about needing an IV drip of coffee, how he promised to take her daughter book shopping after lunch, and then just nothing. But just when you thought your heart couldn't take any more, Jasmine dropped a twist so chilling it felt scripted. 2 days before the accident, Malcolm had said something, almost like a warning. He told me, "Something that still haunts me," Jasmine whispered, barely holding it together. We were sitting by the lake, and he just stared out and said, "If I had to go tomorrow, I hope I go doing something that matters." I laughed, told him to shut the hell up and quit being so damn dramatic. But now, I can't stop thinking. Did he know? Did he feel it coming? The host, visibly shaken, asked the one question hanging in the air. Did she believe Malcolm saw it coming? Jasmine nodded, slow, heavy, heartbreaking. Malcolm was never reckless. He was always tapped in, almost spooky with it sometimes, like he could smell the storm before the first drop. And I think, she said, barely audible, deep down, he knew he was going to protect us, no matter what it cost. Her voice broke. And for the next few minutes, the mic picked up nothing but raw, silent sobs that said everything words couldn't. No theatrics, no PR spin, no influencer tears, just real pen unfiltered, unpolished, and absolutely devastating. Within 48 hours, the podcast had exploded into pure wildfire. Jasmine Guy's confession was everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, with clips of her heartbreak. Celebs reposted it. Fans rewatched it. Hashtags like hashtag Malcolm the Hero and hashtag Honor Malcolm Jamal hijacked the timeline. And those who grew up loving him as Theo, broken, mourning all over again. But this time, it wasn't just about losing a beloved sitcom star. This time, the world finally saw the man behind that primetime smile. Not just a celebrity but a savior. And Jasmine, she finally let go. She found the tiniest flicker of peace in telling the truth, in reframing Malcolm's death not as some random tragedy, but as a legacy carved from love, loyalty, and jaw-dropping courage. But don't exhale just yet, because even that wasn't the final chapter. Buried in that raw, gut-wrenching confession was something else, something she never spoke aloud. A detail she left in the shadows until her daughter, now a teenager, broke the silence wide open. For years, Jasmine Guy's daughter was hidden from the spotlight, shielded from the chaos, protected from the weight of the headlines. She was just 10 when Malcolm Jamal Warner gave his life to save hers. And while the world mourned and dissected every headline, no one stopped to ask the most obvious question: what about her? What did she witness? What did she carry? Now, with a strength that humbled grown adults, Jasmine's daughter, let's call her Amara, to protect her identity, finally stepped into the light. In an emotional, no-holds-barred sit-down interview, arranged quietly by family friend and therapist Dr. Kesha Lorne, Amara was ready to share what no one else could: her truth, her memories, her final moment with Malcolm. Amara recounted that day with a level of detail that stopped everyone cold. Still visibly shaken, her words painted a scene so vivid, it left even the interview room in tears. "I remember slipping," she said softly. "I thought I was fine, but the ground just vanished under me. I tried to scream, but the water went straight into my mouth. I really thought I was going to die." She described flailing helplessly, lungs burning, everything going black, until suddenly, a shadow ripped through the water. "It was Malcolm," she whispered. "He got to me so fast. I felt his arms around me. He pushed me up and told me to kick my legs. I could hear his voice, but I never saw his face." Amara said she felt herself being pushed toward the shallow water, and then, just like that, silence. She was sure he was right behind her, but when she turned around, nothing. He was gone. That moment, realizing the man who had just saved her life never came back up, still haunts her. But hold on, because what she revealed next, even Jasmine wasn't ready for it. "When he pushed me," Amara said in a trembling voice, "he did something." At the time, she didn't understand. But looking back, she knew it was goodbye. Malcolm had reached out and touched her cheek underwater, gently, like a whisper in the middle of chaos. Just a soft, deliberate gesture, a moment of pure calm in the storm. And she felt it. She remembered it with crystal clarity. It felt like he was saying, "You're safe now. I love you." And when Amara spoke those words, the tears came fast and hard. Even Dr. Lorena, therapist who's waded through more human pain than most could imagine, was visibly rocked. That one simple gesture, invisible to the world but tattooed onto Amara's soul, changed everything. This wasn't survival mode. This wasn't instinct. It was deliberate. Malcolm knew he had just enough left in him to save her but not himself. And still with his final breath, he didn't thrash, didn't panic. He soothed her. Let that sit with you. In the freezing, soundless void of that lake, Warner didn't scream, he didn't struggle, didn't fight. He gave her peace, covered her in calm when everything was falling apart. Amara said that moment never haunted her, it healed her, not like a nightmare, but like a quiet flame she keeps burning inside. He gave me life, she said, not just because he saved me but because he showed me what it means to love someone more than yourself. Since then, Amara has become a quiet powerhouse, a fierce advocate for water safety and childhood trauma healing. No glam, no cameras, no staged interviews, just real work, behind the scenes, pouring her energy into community programs all under Malcolm's name. That one podcast interview, it shook the world. And when Jasmine finally watched the footage, she broke. She had no clue that Malcolm's final moments were so intentional, so full of grace, that in the face of death, he gave Amara something no one else on earth ever could. In the middle of chaos, he gifted her calm, but their tribute didn't stop there. Jasmine knew there was one last thing left, one final act of love that no fan, no gossip site, not even the Hollywood inner circle saw coming. Because while Malcolm Jamal Warner's passing quietly shattered the world, what followed was even more secret, a private memorial, hidden deep inside a small cultural center in Atlanta. And unless you were blood or chosen, you didn't even know it happened. No press passes, no camera flashes, no clickbait headlines. Just the people who actually knew the man beneath the spotlight. Inside that dim, intimate room, one black and white photo sat alone at the front, not Malcolm in some designer suit or working the red carpet, but laughing, holding Amara in his arms. That was the Malcolm they came to remember. The real one, the one who cracked jokes between takes, strummed his guitar during lunch breaks, mentored every nervous newcomer, and somehow made everyone feel seen. A man who, even after decades of fame, kept his ego in check and his heart wide open. Pure humility, front to back. And as the service reached its quiet crescendo, it was Jasmine Guy who stood up, trembling but composed, making her way to the podium in front of that small circle of mourners. Some were Hollywood royalty. Others were just lifelong friends, with heavy hearts and tear-streaked faces. But in that space, status meant nothing. Every single soul in that room was leveled by the loss of someone truly irreplaceable. Jasmine's voice trembled as she began. We always focus on how someone died, but today, I want to talk about how he lived. She opened up about their deep, unshakable friendship, how Malcolm had become the godfather her daughter never knew she needed, but somehow always had, how he was her steady through the storms. Her lifeline during the ugliest chapters, always just one phone call from showing up, no questions asked. How he had a soft spot for old-school poetry, a love for smooth jazz, stormy weather, and rambling stories that only made sense in the last line. Then she paused, took in the room, and said, Malcolm didn't just die saving someone. He died being exactly who he always was, a man who led with his heart, a man who didn't need the spotlight to be extraordinary. He didn't wait for applause, he just gave everything, even his last breath, because that's who he was. Jasmine paused, steadying herself. Yes, he died a hero, but more than that, he lived like one, every single day. And just like that, the room crumbled. Not from surprise, but from that deep, soul-splitting grief that only comes when someone's spirit is so powerful, so unforgettable, it burns itself into your bones, forever. Jasmine ended her tribute with one final message, not for the mourners, but for Malcolm himself. You saved her. You saved me. And will never stop shouting your truth to the world. Thank you for everything. Rest now, my brother. We carry your light. That speech never aired in full, but almost everyone who sat in that room has carried those words forward in their own way. It echoes through fan tributes, viral threads, and massive murals stretched across neighborhoods in Atlanta, New York, and LA. Even now, years later, people don't just remember Malcolm Jamal Warner. They speak his name with reverence. Because he didn't just make us laugh as Theo on TV. He embodied what real humanity looks like when the lights are off and nobody's watching. And today, as Jasmine and her daughter piece themselves back together, they've turned that heartbreak into purpose. Partnering with water safety nonprofits, trauma recovery networks, and launching a legacy project in Malcolm's name, one built to mentor young Black boys in forgotten communities. So when it's all said and done, this isn't just a story about grief. It's about how one man's love, courage, and quiet power didn't just save a single life, it reshaped countless others. Now that the truth is out, we gotta ask, how will you remember Malcolm Jamal Warner as Theo, a TV legend, or the man who gave it all, no script, no spotlight, and zero regrets? Sound off in the comments. Did this story wreck you the way it wrecked us? Should Jasmine Guy finally release the full tribute speech? And how should Hollywood really honor Malcolm's legacy beyond just reruns and recycled nostalgia? Drop your thoughts below. And if this one hit you in the heart, go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because we've got more untold, real-life hero stories coming your way. And if someone in your life needs proof that true heroes still walk among us, share this. Let them feel it too. Feel it too.